Let's get our windows rearranged here and back in balance for us to do some game design tonight. I think that's working okay. There we are, guys. What is up? Let's see. Yeah, okay, looks like everything's in set here. Hey, if tonight, like, subscribe, bell icon, notifications. Hey, we've hit 666 subscribers. I am absolutely thrilled about that. What a fun number. Thanks a lot to everybody that's been supporting their channel. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate y'all. For those that aren't familiar, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish them online. And I've been creating content for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition on DMsGuild for like around 8 years at this point. I created the Color Mana Spell Point variant rule system that's on that's already published on DMsGuild. Here's the color mechanics that are currently available. It's a series of 6 books. They all have 100% free preview. The revised 5 color mana spell list. This converts spells from D&D into the 5 color magic paradigm, replacing the intent of this system is to take the Magic the Gathering 5 color mana system and bring it into D&D 5e, because Wizards has been creating books for D&D themed off of Magic the Gathering, but their current mechanical design philosophy is to minimize. So when they incorporate MTG into D&D, they aren't thinking color mechanics and synergy bonuses. They're thinking, how can I express Gruul using the current rules that are already in the player's handbook? I don't know, we'll give them a background that's Gruulish and like be a druid. And now you're Gruul. And the rest of it's just flavor, right? No, well, I mean, back in 3rd edition, when WotC would make a new concept, they would completely kit out. They would, like, if they had like a color mana mechanic idea, they would create a unique spellcasting system for it. They would create unique classes, subclasses, prestige classes, races, feats, magic items, artifacts, adventures, all the bells and whistles that you could possibly want. And so that's what we did. Using that 3rd edition philosophy, the core mechanics book here, again, these are all free preview. The core mechanics walks you through basically how the color mana system works. And again, it's a 100% free preview here. You can see it loading up. And once it's loaded, basically the way that it works is you have a 1-to-1 point ratio. So you spend 1 spell point to cast a 1st level spell, 9 spell points to cast a 9th level spell, etc. Which is much more intuitive and easy to easily utilize compared to the weird system that they had in the DMG 2014. So this simplifies spell points, and by using a color mechanic, we can assign each. Hold on, let's go to the color mana system here. The revised color magic spell list basically takes the different aspects of each color magic. Like white is generally represented by community, law, light, order, protection, structure, while blue is like air, control, illusion, knowledge, manipulation, water. Black is ambition, darkness, death, decay, power, sacrifice. Red is action, chaos, earth, emotion, fire, impulse. Green is growth, healing, life, nature, spirits, tradition. There's other ways that you can express it, but that's a good array of adjectives and nouns and verbs that basically explain the idea behind what each color represents. thematically or narratively. And then we go into more solid mechanics like damage types. There's 10 types of damage in D&D, and generally you're going to find that they line up with, like, say, acid being black and green. You could argue that acid could be red, but that's highly debatable. Fire, of like the 3,000 cards out there that have fire in them, I think like maybe a dozen of them are green. So the vast majority are red. Virtually everything but 2 cards with lightning involved is red. Force is generally white, blue, or red. So you have this matrix of like poison is black and green. That's readily recognizable. Radiant being white magic, that makes a lot of sense. Psychic being white, blue, and black makes a ton of sense. So most of this stuff is really just intuitive if you know the colors of magic already, and if you don't, this basically provides a quick crash course of what each color means. So now that you have an idea of its themes, its aspects of magic, and what types of damage are associated with each type of magic, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing being no specific color at all, we can then get our color matrix. It's like Acid Splash. As a cantrip, it doesn't cost any mana, but it's generally going to be described as black and green because it's acid. Blade Ward reduces damage that you take. That's generally going to be like a white or blue effect. So let's push our way up into higher colors, or higher level spells, like 3rd level, for instance. A 3rd level Fireball spell deals fire damage. It is red. So this is a 3rd level spell, so you have to spend 3 mana. Hey, Steve, it's good to see you. 3rd level spell, you spend 3 mana. If you're using a loose narrative system, because you have different gears of complexity and restriction that you can apply to magic systems like this. The loosest system in D&D is the narrative magic system, where you have a pool of points and you have a stack of spells that you have prepared, and you can keep casting those spells as long as you have enough mana in the mana pool to cast them. Like if you were throwing a fireball in a loose magic system, it's I have 3 points of mana or a 3rd level spell slot. I have Fireball prepared. I'm going to spend that 3rd level resource to cast that 3rd level spell, and then pop, Fireball goes off. If you have at least 3 more points of mana or a 3rd level spell slot laying around, you can do it again ad nauseum. If you want to have a more restrictive system, and like with that loose narrative, it's like I throw Fireball, and if you're using color magic, you would be able to describe it as red. I'm going to cast the Fly spell, and when you cast it, it costs 3 mana. There you are. You're now flying like you would expect to in D&D. And if you're using a color magic narrative, then you would describe it as, say, blue or green magic. And then you can cast any spell that you want, and it doesn't matter. Or if you wanted to, like if I'm playing a Boros character that is, which identifies with white and red magic, when I cast Fireball, it's going to come off as red like usual because Boros, rock. But Fly is typically described as a blue or green spell. But if I'm playing Boros and I'm using a loose narrative, then I have 3 points of mana. I'm going to spend those 3 points and cast Fly because I'm a Boros wizard, but I'm still a wizard. So it doesn't matter. But when I describe the spell, I'm going to describe it using white and red effects. Like I'm wreathed in flame. There's like a white streak that comes off of my feet as I fly to represent, say, white and red magic if you wanted to. That is useful for a DM. Most monsters and equipment don't worry about expending resources to fight or challenge characters. So the DM is pretty much always going to be inside that narrative space. When I'm describing monsters attacking the characters, I am describing how their eyes spark white as breathing flames licking with radiant energy comes off of their fists when they hit you. That might be like a Sun Soul monk that's using Boros energy to attack you. So I'm using white and red language to literally describe what the characters see as monsters and NPCs and artifacts and traps are triggering different magical effects. If you want to use a more strict system, you can still keep the spell points. So you spend 3 spell points, you cast Fly or you cast Fireball. Cool. But if you're using a narratively restrictive system, then, like for example, my Boros character using white and red mana can't cast Fly because it's not white or red. So I would not be able to cast Fly. I can cast Fireball. I could cast Feign Death. That's got white. That's got red. Fear has red. Elemental Weapons has both white and red. Dispel Magic has white and blue. Counter spell we give to white and blue. So like there's a lot of versatility in the type of colors that you can use generally to cast spells. But in this case, if I want to cast Fly as a Boros character, I need to find Fly as a red spell, not a blue-green spell. And I could either spend downtime in my guild hall researching for free, time invested equals receive benefit at the guild because of the renown that you get in Ravnica. I can spend my time in the Boros Legion's guild halls and learn Fly as either a white or red spell. And now when I prepare Fly, I can say I'm casting it as a white or I'm casting it as a blue spell. A red spell. It no longer has to be a blue or a green spell for me. If I want to be highly restrictive with Magic, instead of having generic spell points, each spell point is assigned to a color or devoted to a color. So my my Boros character is only going to be using white and red mana. So if I have 3 points of mana, I could devote 1 to red, 2 to white, all 3 to red, all 3 to white. If I want to cast Fireball, it's naturally red. So if I have 1 point of red mana, the other 2 points could be anything that I want. But as long as I have 1 point of red in there, I can cast Fireball. So as long as I have 3 points of mana, and at least 1 point of it is red, I can continuously casting Fireball. Now I have to manage not only the spells that I'm preparing to use the color, but I also have to make sure I have enough color of each, enough mana in my mana pool devoted to the color that I need to cast the spells that I have. In a Dominaria or maybe Innistrad campaign, you could have characters with all 5 colors picking any spells that they want, but then having to spread their mana pool thin to have 3 points of green, 2 points of red, 2 points of blue, and a point of white, for instance. That gives me 8 points of mana, but as soon as I spend that 1 point of white mana, I can't cast white magic spells anymore unless they're devoted to something else as well. When I finish a short rest or a long rest, I can change the colors in my mana pool to anything that I want. I can change them all from red to all to blue, or 1 to each color, or however I want to change it. Whenever my character gains mana or takes a rest, I can take that downtime or that new mana supply and convert it to whatever color I want to prepare for the spells that I've prepared to cast. So you have this mini game, this higher level of complexity that you can add onto a 1-to-1 point ratio system that devotes the mana points to specific colors, and that duplicates the sort of deck building aspect of Magic the Gathering, where you're balancing the amount of mana in different colors that you have to align with the spells that you've prepared. So ideally, in a highly restrictive system, all the spells are one color because you've prepared them, you've spent time to research them that way. So you have a very efficient spell list. They're all one color, and all of your mana is dedicated to one color. It then becomes as flexible as the pure narrative system, where I can cast any spell that I want, describe it in any color that I please, and spend just 3 points to cast a 3rd level spell, and there's no other restrictions. By taking the time in the highly restrictive system to rebuild my spell list to be all one color and to have all my mana devoted to one color, gives me that same flexibility. But in that restrictive system, that means something. It means that this is a very well-connected character that has a lot of power, because they have a lot of spells that they have all lined up into one color, and all that color is going to be available to them in their mana pool to cast any of those spells at any time. That gives them a level of challenge preparedness that a 1st level character isn't, that might have to divide up their thin mana pool between 2 or 3 different colors to get the things that they want. Those restrictions can lift in time over the course of a campaign as you're giving characters you find a spell book where all the spells are transcribed into red magic. It's a Gruul Shaman spell book, and it's all been devoted to red. Your Boros character can take those Gruul spells, because they speak red, and use that red mana supply to put into their own spells, their own spell list. So now they have a whole bunch of spells that are red now as treasure that they acquired by hunting down and destroying that Gruul, that Gruul Terrace cell, for instance. That becomes valuable treasure. And the overall system, beyond that mechanic, the overall color mana system gives every character, all the marshals, the same mana pool that the half and full casters get, using martial powers, which is inspired by 30.5's Book of Nine Swords, which was the last hard book that D&D, that WotC published before launching 4E. It gives you short rest mana equal to the monk. You can also sacrifice your action economy during combat to generate additional mana. You can sacrifice your bonus action, attacks during the attack action, your reaction, and like the rogue can sacrifice their movement to generate mana to do things. So you can reduce the actions that you take during your round, but infuse all of them with mana power. So you have very little actual mana in your mana pool, but you can generate almost infinite mana turn by turn by sacrificing your action economy to do less with a bigger punch, which is very different from the full casters, which gets a ton of mana in a deep mana pool that they have to parse out over the course of the day. So they can do big bang flashy nova effects as full casters can, versus the marshals, which can do small amounts of mana repeatedly, almost infinitely, as long as you're operating inside of initiative. And the DM can activate initiative anytime that they want. Like if you're doing a heist, the DM can put that heist on an initiative count, because during initiative you can generate mana during action economy. If you're just doing around the town and you're just casually bloody blind and you can just generate infinite fireballs, that's broken. The wizard would have their set mana pool that can only accumulate so much during the day, and if they're going to spend it on fireballs, that's their budget. They could do that. But for the marshals to have infinite mana, they always have to be in combat or in initiative. So you have that. The DM has control as to when the low wide magic marshals get access to unlimited power is when they need to activate it during challenge scenes like combat, exploration, anywhere that the DM decides having an initiative count in combat initiative is appropriate, which can be any time. So there's a whole list of 170 some odd powers that utilize mana or is treated as cantrips that would, like, say your Boros fighter now has access to a list of like 180 Battle Master maneuvers that cost anywhere from 1 to 4 mana to channel at any given time and get mana back on a short rest. We've rebuilt all of the martial character classes and all the half-casters to make use of martial powers. So the half-casters, the ranger, the paladin, and the artificer, as well as the warlock, are our true gishes. They get access to their spell list and they get access to martial powers. So like for example, a ranger doesn't have to learn any spells. They can learn all powers instead, like to ramp their ability checks, to deal more damage in combat, to change their types of movement, to change the type of senses that they have, to sustain different effects, to become immune or resistant to different types of effects, or to eliminate effects that are adversely conditions that are affecting them. And we rebuilt all the class features in 5.5 to key around using mana as their default resource. Like for example, if a power that you use as a barbarian, if you use a power that forces somebody to use a saving throw while you're raging, you get to add your rage bonus to the saving throw to that. You don't maintain concentration on powers, you sustain them. You turn on the mana, and that mana becomes unavailable to you until you turn it off. But you don't have to maintain concentration on them. But a lot of them aren't any more powerful than feats are. So it's kind of like getting you a stack of feats that you can turn on and off if you want to, on top of just literally taking a bunch of feats. If you like the non-spell casting ranger archetype, you're still going to get 15 prepared powers as a ranger, but now you have a list of 30 some odd feats that you can, 48 feats that you can choose from. At first level, you can take origin feats and fighting styles. At 5th level, you get access to general feats. At 17th level, you get access to epic boons. And so you have this, so you can play a martial without actually using mana at all if you don't want to, but you now have a prep resource that gives the marshals, that that spans that divide between marshals and casters, and that it's not so much like casters are more powerful. It's like, yeah, they can cast Witch. They're going to be able to do big Nova things. But with this system, while they're popping off those Novas, you're doing like 3 or 4 points, like 3 or 4 mana worth of things every round consistently if you want to. So you both have the ability to channel a lot of mana over the course of an adventuring day. In fact, over multiple adventuring days, if you're using like say 4 encounters, like 12 rounds of combat per long rest, eventually the the marshals expending minimum amounts of mana for free by sacrificing their bonus action or an attack or something ends up having as much mana as the full casters do over the course of that day, assuming that there's like at least 1, maybe 2 short rests. So it actually ends up balancing out in the long run. It's actually really great. We've play tested this for over 2 years. We've ran it in multiple campaigns, most often between level 3 and 15. But we ran some from level 17 to 20 as well as first through third. It's a pretty robust system. It works really well. And that gets us to the point of today's session. So having said all of that, the reason why we're doing all of that is because we want to create generic subclasses that any class can use. Breaking it down by tiers, 1 to 4 subclasses are generally broken down into 4 tiers. Bards and clerics don't get a third rank, like a third tier power, because bards get magical secrets and cleric gets lesser divine intervention. Those replace what would normally be a third tier subclass feature. So if we're going to build generic subclasses that work for every class, we have to take into account that bard and cleric only get 3 subclass levels. So that's when we look at epic boons. So epic boons were introduced in 5.5. They're a feat that you get at 19th level. If you take a character class to 19th level, instead of taking an epic boon, you can choose to take a level of a tier of a subclass. If you if the artificer already finished their battlesmith subclass and then they get to the epic boon, they don't want it. Maybe they'll take the first tier armorer or the first tier chemist, alchemist subclass options, and now you're basically rocking 2 subclasses. You could also go battlesmith, alchemist, armorer. Alchemist, armorer, battlesmith, cartographer, and artillerist. You could theoretically run 1 subclass every tier whenever you're getting to your subclass level ups. That's fine. If I'm multi-classing, say I multi-class Bard and Barbarian, and I'm taking a class that's a subclass that's class neutral, at Barbarian 3, I could take the first tier of say a white subclass. And then at I get the 3rd level as Bard, I could either take say a first rank of a black subclass, or I could take the 2nd tier of the white subclass, because I already gained 1st tier, and at 3 levels of Bard, I now get access to another tier of subclasses. So you see it has that flexibility. And in the case of fighters, they get 5 subclass levels. But if we're only building subclasses with 4 tiers to be universal, then the fighter will be done with its first subclass by 15 and potentially has 2 more, 18th level and 19th level. The fighter at 18th level could take an epic boon. So the fighter could have 2 epic boons at 18 and another one at 19, or you could take 2 subclass tiers. Tier 1 and 2 of a new subclass, or again, I could take Battlemaster, Eldritch Knight, Psy Warrior, Boros subclass, white mana subclass, and red mana subclass. I've taken the first tier of 6 different subclasses, never advancing any of them very far, but getting an array of low-level abilities that pad out my character to do a lot of different stuff. I gain the flexibility of doing whatever I want. So in that spirit, we are now taking Magic the Gathering cards by color, looking at what the card says and converting them into class features of tier 1 to 4. First tier is always 3rd level. 2nd tier is generally going to be somewhere between 5th and 9th level. 3rd tier is generally going to be somewhere between 9th and 14th level. And then the 4th tier is generally somewhere between 15th and 20th level. And then, of course, epic boons come in at 19th level always. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, and 4 tiers. First tier should be like something like a 3rd level character would have access to, but can potentially scale in time. Second tier is going to be something like a 5th level character could do, like a 3rd level spell, or like a 2nd level power, or like a general feat. Those are the type of things that you should expect to come in at 3rd tier. 2nd tier. At 3rd tier, we're looking at like say 5th level spells, or for half casters, 3rd level spells. Generally, anyone can spend 3 mana at 9th or higher levels. So generally, we're going to look at things like around 3rd level is probably the level that we're going to be at. Unless it's like a once per day or like once per short rest, then that could potentially be something that scales up to like say 5th level of power, like a 5th level spell sort of thing. And then at 4th rank or 4th tier, we're basically looking at high-end shit, things that you can spend 5 mana on, things that you can. I'm sorry, 4th tier. Things that you can spend 4 mana on, like a 4th level spell or a 4th rank power. In addition to, say, once per day or like once per rest effects that could potentially go up to 9th level. So you have a lot of flexibility there. So we can take a Magic the Gathering card and convert them into those ideas at those different tiers of power to create a structure for us to be able to mix and match with. So we extracted about 40 different powers from White Magic. I don't necessarily like a Johnny's Welcome being a name here, but the card, for each point of white mana that you expend when you cast a spell, or when you channel a martial power or other effects that require mana, you heal 2 hit points. So you spend mana, and it has to be white mana, because it's a white tier feature. So if you have a Rakdos character that's devoted to black and red mana, they're not going to be using this subclass because they don't naturally have access to it, and all the features are dead because Rakdos doesn't channel white mana. Your identity, or like your alignment or identity in Magic the Gathering, is pick anywhere from like 2 or 3 colors. I generally recommend 2 colors to align with Ravnica and Strixhaven, and New Capenna if you want. Stick with generally 2 colors so that you can have some conflict or synergy with your identity correlating with the type of magic that you use. So like if my character has like an overdeveloped sense of righteous indignation, then Boros Legion might be the place for me, regardless of what my character class is. I've got that Crusader vibe against evil and chaos. So that would mean that I'm going to be channeling white magic, so I can we could build subclasses out of these features to create a Boros type character, like the Johnny's Welcome. We're going to have to change that name to get to something that's neutral. Like, I don't want to have proper nouns in this. I can't use a Johnny's name in DMsGuild because a Johnny hasn't been released in the books that are published. But having said that, right, the like this is like a very Selesnya sort of thing to do. I'm using white mana to cast my spells because, like that Fireball, for instance, I could cast it with 1 red mana, and then I could use 2 points of white mana with it. I'd spent 3 mana, 2 of which were white. So when I throw that Fireball, if I have a Johnny's Welcome, I would heal 4 hit points on myself while I throw that Fireball. This is a kicker effect, and subclasses are great for adding on kicker effects. We see a lot of that in 5.5, like the Clockwork Sorcerer, I think, has some. The Fey one, the Archfey subclass for Warlock has a lot of kicker effects. The Ranger core class has downcasting. There's a lot of different things that are manipulating and creating kicker effects in 5.5. So this is very much not only in alignment with Magic the Gathering philosophy, but also 5.5 D&D philosophy. And I feel like if enough time had been spent before releasing Strixhaven, that we could have seen Strixclassing something like this formula that we're using. kind of like how weapon masteries don't necessarily need to be bound to a specific weapon. If you prepare a mastery, we let you use it with any weapon that it could possibly use it. Like push, for instance. You can use the push mastery with any weapon you know if you have push prepared. So that becomes like a floating kicker effect that you can add on to any attacks that you make. Like that makes it a very versatile system where like everyone wants to take Graze, wants to take Vex, wants to take Push. Like those are your top 3 contenders to give yourself advantage when you need to always deal damage even if you miss. You can graze with anything. An arrow, you can graze with an arrow. I can graze you with my club. I can always deal damage to you if I prepare Graze, whether Graze is built into a weapon or not. If a mastery is built into a weapon and you're proficient with that weapon, you can just use that mastery if you're a martial character. Full casters, they have to spend a feat to do that, but martials get it for free. So this gives martials a ton of flexible utility in what masteries they choose to prepare and what weapons they choose to use to make their kit of masteries almost universally available between weapon juggling and just selecting what mastery they want to use right now. So that gives them a ton of versatility. That alone helps bridge the divide between martials. Sorry, my chair's fucked up. That right away helps reduce the divide between decision making and character complexity between the martials and the casters. Again, it's not that casters are throwing ninth level spells around at end game. It's that every level that they've gained, they've had this laundry list of things that they can kit into today that martials just don't have access to. You're playing a less complex, simple, maybe as effective, but certainly less versatile character. By opening up these different options to the martials, it gives them the same plasticity, flexibility, and adaptability to the campaign that the full casters have. It just works in a different way. So it makes playing martials very fun. And what's really important is that it makes multi-classing incredibly cool. So these Strixclasses that we're building, again, you're allowed to float to multi-class between martials, hybrid, and full casters, and still, like, as you gain 3rd level, you can keep ratcheting up 3rd level, 6th level, 9th level, 12th level, 15th level, 18th level, and that's like 6 subclasses that you could get access to, just like the fighter could by burning the 18th and then an epic boon at 19th. So you still, like, the fighter, anyone that's just taking 3 levels of subclasses, or 3 levels, will always be increasing their mana pool, will get some decent stuff off of each of the character classes, and every 3 levels will have the opportunity to buy into another subclass level. They're not getting multiple attacks the way that, like, a 20th level fighter does. They're not getting the same level of, like, lay on hands or smite, or like smite spells they would have access to, like a paladin from level 1 to 20 would. But you'll eventually be able to still channel 5 mana into that into that smite power, just like a paladin could. But a paladin would be able to, like, say, spend 8 mana instead of just 5, while you would be limited to only 5 mana, even as a 3rd level paladin. You're just limited because you've prioritized broadening your base. You never get high in powers, you just get a fuck ton of low level powers that you can use continuously. But that's a different balancing point, a way to gish into stuff by multi-classing, and you aren't punished so much because you're always building your mana pool with every single class, whether on a long rest with a lot or a short rest with a little. Blending the two is actually really freaking fun. So any way that you build your character, you're going to win with this system. So that's enough pontification. I've been rambling on about it for like a half hour. So let's actually get to work. We're stepping past all of these different white edge powers. We're going down into blue, path of blue. So we've got first tier. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. We found 19 powers so far out of blue mana. Yeah, like 40 out of white. So I don't think we're going to have a problem buffing all these things out. We just want to get Bubble Snare. You always have the Odalix Resilient Sphere prepared, even if you don't have the spellcasting feature, and you can cast it by expending 4 blue mana without semantic or material components. Yeah, that's a good example, like a 4th tier power, like you're a blue, like a blue warlock, or a blue monk that gets to the monk is at what, 15th level? No, 17th. Sorry, tangent. Monk, 4th tier. Yeah, you get your 4th tier at 17th level, and it's very realistic that like a 4th level spell, a 17th level half-caster would be able to cast 5th level spells by 17th level. So Bubble Snare being like, you can prepare, you can cast Odalix Resilient Sphere, and you're a blue caster. Here you go. That works really, like, that'd be really cool for a monk to have, or like a paladin to have, or fucking anybody to have. Chunka. Let's see. Let's go with, okay, let's get back into the book here. So let's start looking at things. We skip monsters. When we come back and we start building specific like a Boros Swiftblade is an example that I use a lot. Or like a Rakdos Rioter. These are specific creature cards in Magic the Gathering that can be converted into subclasses. That's when we're going to pay specific attention to what like specific powers they have. On top of this list that we're building here, we can look at what the card does specifically and extract that as well. But we're going to save that extra layer of fun for when we're actually building out subclass powers, or if we find ourselves short on abilities. We'll probably end up with 30 abilities for blue Magic. Like, we'll probably find another 10. But like when we get into black, we'll only find like 20 abilities out of black. We might start tapping black creature cards to get a wider list of things that you could potentially do to start buffing out more class feature effects. So censorship is when censorship comes into play, choose word. Whenever any player says the chosen word, censorship deals 2 damage to him or her. Editor's note: there were no suitable flavor text submissions for this card. I love that. Censorship, I think I'm going to skip it. It's a joke card anyway. Ceremonious Rejection. Counter target colorless spell. So there's about 100 different types of dispel, counterspell, disrupt spell effects in MTG in the blue space. It all basically boils down to dispel magic and counterspell. That's basically all they are. We have those. Generally, we're skipping these. Cerulean Wisps is instant. That's an instant spell. Target creature becomes blue until end of turn. Untap that creature. Draw a card. Converting a color for a creature is narratively interesting, but it doesn't have any reliable effects in DnD. In Magic the Gathering, where everything is instant and rounds process quickly, and none of the characters have a story built around them inside of the game. They're all just technical things with cool flavor on them. You can do things like that, but that's not really relevant inside of a D&D game. So draw a card generally has something to do with like free castings of spells, gaining mana. I don't think that's particularly relevant here. We're going to end up skipping past a lot of cards before we end up finding a good one. Creature card, Chain of Vapor, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Then that permanent controller may sacrifice a land. If the player does, he or she may copy this spell and may choose a new target for return target non-land permanent to his owner's hand. That's generally like a banishing effect, like Banishing Smite, Banishment, Blink, Rope Trick even. Those are generally the ideas that we see there. Chain of Vapor is representing here as returning to the owner's hand is disempowerment or imprisonment. I like the idea of being able to spend mana to replicate effects. Let's bold that real quick. Hold on. That's black magic. Sorry. I'm thinking. I don't know what we're gonna call it. You can expend additional mana equal to the level of the spell to cast it. I'm thinking something like when you use a mana effect to target a creature, to target one creature, you can expend, expend an equal amount of additional blue mana to target an additional creature with the same effect. I'm being very loose here right now because I suspect we're going to tie that to something, but that's a very bluish sort of idea. We're going to need to find names for stuff, and that'll be fun. What is this? Chain Stasis. Tap or untap target creature. Whenever any player uses Chain Stasis to tap or untap a creature, that creature's controller pays 2 mana. To use Chain of Stasis to tap untap any target creature. Here we go again. So I can use the spell, and then I can spend more mana to use it again and again and again. We literally just described that here. That's basically what we're describing. When you use, there you go. But do I like that? I guess that's basically like hold person, spend 2 mana to target a creature with hold person. For every extra point of mana that you spend, you can target another creature. That's kind of the same effect, except this allows it for spells that normally don't allow for that chaining effect. So in that sense, let's go with when you use a mana effect. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go with chain. Casting. Chain mana. How about that? We'll just call that for now. Chain to memory. Target creature gets a fat penalty. Until in a turn, you get to look at some cards. We're going to skip that. Champion's Victory. Play Champion's Victory only after you're attacked. Before you declare blockers. Return any one attacking creature to its owner's hand. Champion's Victory. Interesting card. What would that be like? Return any one attacking creature to its owner's hand. That would be like a stun effect, stopping them from dispelling their attack, distracting them. When you make an attack, you automatically miss. But I don't like the title of that though. But I do like the idea. Like for example, we can come down here. We can throw some question marks around this. When a creature you can see within 60 feet targets you with an attack, they miss. That feels kind of blue. Chase Inspiration. What do? Target creature you control gets a defense bonus and gains hexproof until end of turn. We already have hexproof as a 4th rank ability, which is when someone targets you with a spell or other effect that only targets you, they have to choose another target, or they waste the action but don't lose the resource. So we already have hexproof in effect elsewhere, and the bonuses here is that's like dodge. Like a plus defense bonus on an MTG card is like you get the dodge for free, for instance. So both of these things exist separately. Certainly not as a first. Like 1 mana here is not representing 1 mana here at all. the mechanics of this game are very different from the survivability of your precious character in a D&D game. So it's very, very different vibe. Chilling Trap, what do you do? Gets a fat penalty, like big disadvantage on attacks until end of turn. If you control a wizard, draw a card. That's too specific. We're going to skip that. Clairvoyance is a spell called Clairvoyance. It's 3rd level. Look at target creature's hand. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's keep. Is Clairvoyance a blue spell? Let's go take a look and find out. We'll crack open the Magic the Gathering variant rules. Let's go down to the revised spell list. I believe Clairvoyance is blue. It makes sense to me that this list is current for 2024, by the way. It's also pay what you want. So anyone that wants to pick it up, just drop down into the MTG color mana list down below and just grab it if you want to. If you want to give me money, God bless you. Clairvoyance, there you go. Yeah, blue and green. So blue it is. So Clairvoyance as a spell effect, we could pick that up. It would be 3rd level, 3rd tier, very straightforward. Clairvoyance. You have the spell Clairvoyance. You always have prepared, and when you cast it, and when you expend, when you expend 3 blue mana to cast it, you can do so without material components. I think Clairvoyance requires material components. D&D Beyond, Clairvoyance. Let's verify. Yeah, material components. A focus worth at least 100 gold pieces. Either a jeweled horn or hearing or an eyeglass for seeing. So yeah, we don't need that. We're going to take away the need to do that. Clairvoyance. You always have the spell Clairvoyance prepared, and when you expend 3 blue mana to cast it, you can do so without material components. There you go. I like that. Let's go fetch another. And this is creating caveats like for example, let's go up here to the top of the rules. Multiple subclasses, modified feats, color subclasses, unique mechanic terminology. Channeling refers to marshals and half-casters that channel martial powers. Persist effects are ongoing until dismissed, including sustained powers and spells that require concentration. For example, a 5th level wizard can concentrate on up to 3 mana worth of spells. If you are persisting 2 mana, you can only concentrate on up to 1 mana worth of spell until the persistent effect is dismissed. Activate an effect refers to whenever you cast a spell, channel a power, or use a class feature or other effect that expends mana. And then we're going to go with, we're going to add another rule in here, which is when a class feature grants you a spell that is always prepared, you can cast this spell even if you don't have the spellcasting or pact magic features. A barbarian is still unable to cast these spells while raging. There, and my music stopped, so let's do something about that. Yeah, good stuff. So we're establishing ground rules for how these things work in general, so that you as a DM if you jive with these ideas, can create your own. Since we're building a scaffold that's easily duplicated and explain how these things interact with each other, it's something that anybody, once they grok it, can run and play with it. Where are we at? White magic. Blue magic. There you go. And if anyone's interested in looking at this document, here's the playtest doc. It's a Google Doc. It's read only for now, but we will be we're going to be publishing this stuff on not on DMsGuild. This is all going to be on my Patreon, which is right here. And you can follow me on Patreon if you want. Twitter, Discord. Discord's free. Twitter's Twitter. And my Patreon, if you want to follow me there, people that pay $1 or more will be able to participate in voting on subclasses. In the meantime, it'll be a few months before we start building those out as we go through these lists of colors, but we're going to get there sooner than later. I'd say probably by August we'll actually be building subclasses, and I do artwork in the morning, Mondays through Fridays, and I do game design like this on Mondays, Thursday nights, and then Saturday mornings, and then I run playtest campaigns on my Discord server Saturday afternoons. But pretty soon we're going to be in a place where we'll be doing like once a month. We'll make a new subclass, and then we'll illustrate the subclass and then publish it as a PDF using all these mana mechanics we have published on the DMsGuild, but specific subclasses that will never sell in the DMsGuild that we can pump out on Patreon and then put up on Forathos and other websites, on like Reddit feeds and stuff like that, or like, I don't know, like Instagram maybe, I don't know. So keeping at it, Clash of Wills. Counter target spell unless its control pays X. So creatures never have mana. They always can pay X, or they never can pay X. There's not like, oh, my basilisk doesn't have enough green mana laying around to do. No, it's just creatures. NPCs generally don't have mana. They look like they have mana like effects to trigger their abilities. All creatures can do that, but they don't actually have a mana pool. So cards like this that like. These are good DM NPC cards. Like if you want to target my Chimera with that spell effect, you're gonna have to spend 2 extra mana to get past its ward, or like that'd be like really good on a Sphinx, or like that Chaos Demon. If you want to target that Chaos Demon with anything with white mana, you're going to have to take a degree of exhaustion for trying, and whether he succeeds or not. If you roll a natural 1 on your checks against that demon, you're going to gain a degree of exhaustion. Like these are warding effects that you can play, that the DM can place on creatures, locations, and items. But those mechanics generally aren't available to players. Let's see. Any one creature gains flying. No, we don't need that. Cloak of Invisibility. Enchanted, that's an artifact card, technically. Enchant Creature. Enchanted creature gains phasing and cannot be blocked except by walls. Interesting. Cloak of Invisibility. Gains phasing. Okay, let's remind ourselves the mechanics for phasing. I know phasing is like out of phase, and then they come back into phase, they can attack. Like out of phase characters can only attack other out of phase characters and stuff like that. But let's look at MTG phasing specifically. Phasing is a mechanic where permanents phase out, causing them to be treated as if they don't exist until they automatically phase back in on their next untapped step. This can be a protective action or a means to temporarily disable an opponent's permanents. Phasing is primarily in blue and secondary in white, which corresponds to teleportation magic being generally white or blue. Planar magic as well, like astral projection, etherealness, blink, dimension door. Unlike similar concepts like flickering, a phase-out permanent remains the same object and so retains counters, attachments, and choices made during the life of that object. Flicker is when you banish and then bring it back right away, basically resetting it to its factory settings. Phasing is also the name of the closely related keyword ability that puts a permanent in a repeating cycle of phase-out and in every 2 turns. The form of the ability functioned mainly as a drawback and has not been printed since Weatherlight in 1997, aside from the unsets. Jeez, Weatherlight. Weatherlight, the original D&D Spelljammer campaign in MTG. Gotta love it. Okay, so we have a better understanding of phasing in general. Cloak of Invisibility gives you phase, and you can't be blocked except for by walls. Huh. Okay, I like it. It's a cool defensive ability. Let's bring it into the second tier. So let's go with phase. You can expend 2 blue mana as a bonus action or reaction. Let's just do it like this. You can expend 2 blue mana as a bonus action to become incorporeal until the beginning of your next turn. While incorporeal this way, you are immune to all damage except force and psychic damage. And you can move through solid objects as difficult terrain. If you end your turn inside an object, you are pushed out, returning to the last open space you occupied and are stunned until the beginning of your next turn. You can alternatively, you can phase as a reaction to being targeted by an attack or magical effect from a source you can see. We'll do it like that. Yeah, that feels good. There, phase, second rank, or second tier. That should be here. 2 mana, second tier, feels right. Fun effect. I like that. And we've now codified phase. Clock spinning. Buyback 3. Choose a creature. Choose a counter on target permanent or suspended card. Remove that counter from that permanent or card, or put another of those counters on it. Jeez, I kind of like the idea of being able to use clock spinning to increase or decrease the duration of an effect. How would that work? So many variables. There's so many variables with duration. You've got multiple days, 24 hours, long rest, short rest, 1 hour, 8 hours, 1 hour, 10 minutes, 1 minute, 1 round. That's a lot of variables. We could have a scale that ratchets them up or down, but that gets really complicated. It's a cool idea, but I think sometimes cool ideas need to be let go and left on the cutting room floor, because while they're a neat idea, they're not practical to implement in a tabletop. So we're gonna skip that. We skip creature cards, more creature cards, Clutch of Currents. Cool magic card. Turn target creature to its owner's hand. Awaken. If you cast a spell for 5 mana, also put 3+1+ counters on target land you control, and it becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with haste. It's still a land. Huh. Awaken. Awaken is a druid spell that gives intelligence to objects or plants. Animals and plants. So, nah. Cobble Lancer, creature card we skip. That's a great card. But we don't do creature cards right now. Combat Research, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. As long as enchanted creature is legendary, it gets +1/+1 and has ward 1. Again, warding effect is like a DM tool to place on monsters. So we're gonna skip the ward, but combat enchantment aura, enchant creature. Whenever you deal damage, draw a card. Drawing a card is generally equivalent to generating mana. Combat Research isn't necessarily the best name either. Yeah, that card's cool. LeFou, I'm thinking. I've got a thought. I'm formulating a thought. Geez, I don't like the name of it. Okay, so this is the idea that I'm thinking of, and this would probably be pretty high rank. This is crazy good Cynic UG vibe. It's just not a good name. Let's something like this. I'm not sure what we'll call it, but it would be when you deal during combat. When you deal damage to a creature, you can during combat when you roll dice to deal damage to a creature, you can choose to deal the minimum amount without rolling. When you roll dice to deal damage to a creature, instead of rolling, you can choose to deal the minimum amount of damage, to deal the minimum damage, and regain, what is this, 4th rank? Thank you, Timely Timer. And regain a number of mana equal to your proficiency modifier. Once you use this ability, you cannot do so again You can use. Well, I'm sorry, they changed the wording. You can use this this feature once, regaining it when you finish a long rest. We may end up sacrificing this. Actually, this might actually end up being a black card because of the nature of that sacrifice effect. But this was an inspiration, so we'll take it. Actually, I'm kind of feeling like that's a black effect. Not gonna lie. Cool. I mean, let's carrying on. Concerted defense. Counter target. Oh, he has a target card. We'll skip that. Condescend. It's a ward effect. Draw cards. That's generally something that we don't deal with. Consider. Surveil one. Look at the top card of your library. You may put it into your graveyard. Draw a card. Consign to memory. Replicate. When you cast this spell, copy it for each time you pay its replicant cost. That's like hold person and then spend extra mana for more people. Counter target triggered ability. Yeah, it's a counter spell. We're going to skip that. Constricting tendrils. Attack penalty until end of turn. Cycling. Discard it. You can draw a card. Priests of Bant protect their temples with traps more elaborate than any mosaic floors. Well, that's fun. That's kind of like a Bard's Black Tentacles, or like the Great Old One Warlock getting their summon tentacle. This is similar to that. I'm gonna skip it. Controlled Instincts. Enchant red or green creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap. Yeah, this is that's color targeting. We don't do color targeting because it's too restrictive. Like I could run an entire game, and you'll never run across a black creature, perhaps, or a white creature, perhaps, that you're going to battle. It becomes kind of a nothing card. Coral Net can enchant only a green. There you go, only green or white card. We skip that. Cost these tricksters. We skip creature cards. Crab Umbra, huh? Totem Armor. If enchanted creature would be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura. Untap. Enchant creature. 3 mana. Untap enchanted creature. Oh, okay, so this lets you untap. And you can destroy the card if you get hit. Okay, I like Totem Armor. Blue card, huh? Cool. Let's go with it. Totem Armor. This is Path of Black. Let's get into Path of Blue. Let's go here. Totem Armor. As a bonus action, you can expend 1 blue mana to create a phantasmal aura of protection. When one or more blue mana to create a phantasmal aura of protection. When you take damage, from a source you can see while you from a source that you can see, you can, as a bonus action, you can expend 1 or more blue mana to create a phantasmal aura of protection. When you take damage from a source you can see, You can roll a number of d4 equal to the amount of mana you. This is feeling kind of like Arcane Ward in the Abjurist Wizard, so I'm not sure how unique this actually is. I like the idea of you not taking damage or reducing the damage that you take, kind of like the monk's deflect attack, similar to that. Let's try. It's not gonna be first rank. It's gonna have to be second rank. As a reaction, to when you take damage from a source you can see, you can expend a number of blue mana up to your proficiency modifier to roll an equal number of d4 the total of dice rolled the total reduce the damage taken by the total of the dice of the d4 rolls. There you go. That's very similar to the Abjurist Shield, but I'm going to leave it in place because it's a good idea. It won't necessarily just belong to blue in general, but it could be like a tactical fighter, like a bodyguard type character. I think those exist in blue. Might find some of that in Azorius. I think it would make a lot of sense. So we're going to keep our eyes open for that and let it stand for now. Cryo Shatter. When target creature becomes tapped or is dealt damage, destroy it. Huh. Cold's blue, right? Yeah, Cold's blue. Okay, Cryo Shatter, that makes sense. Oh my god, what a crate. Oh my god. Okay, this might not stick, but for now I'm liking this idea. Let's go down here to 4th tier. We'll probably find a better name for this, but for now we'll go with Cryo Shatter. When you make an attack roll against a creature that deals damage on a hit, when you make an attack roll against a creature when you make an attack roll that deals damage on a hit, you can expend a number. You can expend blue mana up to your proficiency bonus. What was the language on that? Where'd it go? Hold on. Where'd you go? Black Knight. There we go. When you make an attack roll that deals damage on a hit, you can expend a number of blue mana up to your proficiency modifier to increase the crit range of the attack by 1 for each mana expended this way. For example, if you make an attack and expend 2 blue mana, you score a crit on a roll of 18 to 20. You can expend a number of blue mana up to your proficiency modifier to score a critical hit when the result of the d20 is equal to or higher than 20 minus the amount of blue mana expended this way. For example, if you make an attack and expend 2 blue mana, you score a critical hit on an 18 to 20. 20 minus 18. 20 minus 2 equals 18. If the attack misses, you the mana is not. The mana is returned to your mana pool. All but 1 mana expended this way is returned to your mana pool. This bonus this increased crit range remains until the beginning of your next turn. So I could spend 6 mana at, actually should be, you can expend a number of blue mana up to your proficiency modifier -1 to score. That way it's 1 to 5. So at 17th level, when you'd have access to 5th level spells as a half caster or 5th rank powers as a marshal, you'll hit that actual curve of 5 mana. But if I spent 5 mana at 17th level, I would be able to score a critical hit from 15 to 20 for the rest of my turn. That's not bad. Hey, what's up, Gabby? Hey, Lucas. Sorry, Lucas, I didn't catch sight of you. Hey, dude, thank you. Are you planning on doing some big classic spells in MTG? Yeah, sure, maybe, eventually. Again, right now, I'm just going with really low level, like 1 mana cards, because there's so many effects that we can extract from them. I'm not doing them all. However, if you have a list of spells that you would like me to look at and translate into like how I would translate them, be welcome to join my Discord server and send me a hello, or join me on my Patreon and put in the request there as well, and I can certainly tend to that. But for now, I'm just creating all these features are designed for us to integrate into subclasses. At the beginning of this stream, I went into a lot of detail about how the subclass system works, the power curve that goes with it, and then we started pulling samples. So I'm just using 1 mana cards right now. Just there's like 600 1 mana blue cards. It's ridiculous the amount of cards that there are. So I just started with 1, but I'm happy to look at classic cards if people want to. They may or may not actually be useful. So if there's something specific that you want to look at, you're certainly welcome to. I know there's been a number of MTG projects by other people that have taken iconic cards and converted them into spells, like anywhere from 1st to 9th level spells. So I'm not particularly motivated to do that, but I don't mind doing some now and again. Hey, what's up? I'm saving. I'm save scumming a big fight in BG. Oh, save scumming, got it. In Balthazar fight, because you can do a one-on-one monster if spell is. Okay. I don't necessarily know everything that you just said there, but it sounds like you're having fun with BG3, and I can't front on that. Curfew. Each player chooses a creature he or she controls and returns it to its owner's hands. But I'm not tired. Alright, we're going to skip that. Curiosity. Enchant creature. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. We were looking at something like that, where you deal damage, you get mana back. You do that once. What was it? Where was that? We just did it. Oh, I think we made that a black. I think we were looking at making that a black effect. Yeah, sacrifice your damage to regain mana. That's what we had done with that one. All right. Curious Inquiry. Enchant creature. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, investigate. Which is, you get a clue token. It's an artifact with 2. Sacrifice this card, draw an artifact, draw a card. So you get a clue. You spend mana to use it. Nah, we'll skip that. Curse Obsession. Enchanted creature gets a bonus to attack and damage, attack and defense, and has whenever this creature deals combat damage to a character, you can, again, draw another card, which is Curse Catcher. We skip creature cards for now. Cut the Earthly Bonds. Ooh, return target enchanted permanent to its owner hand. Cut the Earthly Bonds. What's up? I'm very bad at this game. I'm being very cheap. You know, you bought the fucking thing. You play it the way that you want to play it. Like, if you want to play Contra with invincibility mode, go ahead and hit up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, B, A, select, start. They put it in there for you to use it if you want to, so that you can enjoy the game that you want to. Never feel guilty about playing games the way that you want to. It's your entertainment. It's your money that you put into it. You have the right to enjoy it the way that you want to. So there. Cut the Earthly Bond. That's like go to heaven or die. Or like astral projection. Nah, I'm not feeling it. Dazzling Lights. Penalty to attack. Surveil. Look at top cards. Dazzling Lights, huh? That's like a blinding effect. Okay. It is. It's like a blinding effect. So, thank you, Timely Timer. What time is it? 7:30. Yeah, we probably got at least another half hour, maybe an hour in us. Let's go down to first rank. We're going to go to, Dazzling Lights. Let's grab this one up. First rank. As a bonus action, you can expend 1 mana to target a. You can expend 1 blue mana to target a creature you can see within 60 feet. It makes a wisdom saving throw. If it fails, it's blinded until the beginning of your next turn. If it succeeds, its next attack it makes before the beginning of your next turn is rolled with disadvantage. There you go. Kicker effect. So if you succeed, it basically gets sapped. If it fails, it's blind. Either case until the beginning of your next turn. That's a decent first rank power, and the point of mana. Generally, a point of mana is worth advantage or disadvantage, and so you're spending the point of mana to get a guaranteed disadvantage on a next attack. If it fails to save, blindness again, you'll have advantage to attack it, and it'll be disadvantaged on all of its attacks until the blindness goes away, which is at the beginning of my next turn. So that's a really good use of 1 point of mana. It's really, really good. Deceive the Messenger. Penalty to attack. Amass orcs. Okay. 1/1 counter on an army you control. It's also an orc. If you don't control an army, create a 0/0 black orc army. Create creature token first. Oh, that's fun. We're not dealing with mass combat in this scenario. This would actually make a lot of sense with the mass combat systems that we've been developing here over the past 4 years. But for now, we'll let it go. Defense stance. Enchanted creature gets a penalty to attack and a bonus to attack. To defend. Sorry, if it isn't for fighting, it's for when the fighting's gone bad. Fair enough. Defensive stance. That's basically like the dodge action. Okay, defensive stance, first rank. I love how much combat-oriented stuff there is in these blue cards, like martial sort of combat stuff. I honestly did not anticipate that out of blue. I love it because blue's like tactical, and that makes a lot of sense. So defensive stance, you can take the dodge action as a reaction to being attacked by a source you can see. And we're going to put that at second tier. I think that's super cool. Defy gravity. Tell me about you. Target creature gains flying until end of turn. We have a ton of those, so we're going to skip that. Delver Secrets. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may reveal that card if an instant or sorcery. Excuse me. If an instant or sorcery card is revealed this way, transform this creature into Insectile Aberration. Oh my god. Simic calls to you, yo. It has flying, 3/2 flying. That's a creature card, so we're going to skip it. Beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. I like that mechanic, though. I'm getting a very opt vibe. I'm going to skip forward. I'm going to put in MTG opt. We'll get to it eventually. Scry 1. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card on the bottom of your library. What was I thinking? Damn it, I'm losing it. Hold on. That's the one. Okay, opt. And do we dare be cheeky and put in as a first rank ability? Yes, we do. Let's do it. Hold on. Opt. When you make a D20 test, when you roll a D20 test, you can use your reaction to expend 1 blue mana to re-roll the die. You must keep the new result. Yeah, I like that. Skip past you. Denied. Play denied only as an opponent casts the target spell and name a card, then look at all cards in the player's hand. If the named card is in the player's hand, counter that spell. Diminish. Target creature has base power and toughness 1/1 until end of turn. That would be enlarge and enlarge reduce spell. Let's go to second rank. As a magic action, you can target a creature up to 60 feet away. You can force a creature up to 60 feet away to make a wisdom, a constitution saving throw. If they fail, the size of the target of the creature is reduced by 1 size for 10 minutes. The creature can make a save. Can make another save at the end of each of its turns to end the effect early. Period. There you go. Diminish. 1 mana, second tier. If it fails, if the save fails, the size of the creature is reduced by 1 size, minimum of tiny, for 10 minutes. The creature can make another save at the end of each of its turns to end the effect early. Kicker. For each additional point of blue mana expended, the size of the creature can be reduced by another size. gargantuan goes to huge, large, medium, small, diminutive. There. The stats of the creature don't change, but its reach is reduced a similar size, and its movement, its move speed is reduced by 5 feet for each size the creature is diminished. We might end up scrapping this, but I'm putting it in here for now because we can. Dispel, I've heard of that. Disrupt, same thing. Distortion Strike, target creature gets a bonus to attack until the end of the turn and can't be blocked this turn. Rebound, if you cast this spell from your hand, exile it. As it resolves at the beginning of your next step, at the beginning of your next upkeep, you may cast this card from exile without paying its mana cost. That's pretty cool. Let's see. Rebound is basically like a repeat a spell effect. I feel like we have a thing for this. Hold on. Reaction to failing a saving throw. You can spend 1 hit point die or mana or blue mana to reroll the save. Or that feels like black mana to me, honestly. I'm going to cut that and drop it down into black. I like all these black sacrifice effects. They feel super cool. But I feel like there's a blue thing in here somewhere. See. As a bonus action, you can target a creature you can see within 6 feet of you to be your victim for 1 minute. Whenever you see your victim make an attack, you can use a reaction to target that creature with an attack if it is within range of your attack, or a spell that targets only one creature. You can spend 2 mana to cast a fly, to gain a fly speed equal to twice your move speed until end of this turn. Okay, hold on. We saw some flight stuff. Defy gravity. Sure. There, we'll do that. What's up? Hey, man. Moelix, Maelix 2018. How about Flight? Or the one from 2018? There's got to be a ton of them. Did we see Flight already? We haven't gotten to Flight yet. I'm not opposed to that one, though. Let's see if there was something else in here really quick. Crab Umbra is so cool. Hold on. I know it's in here. I will probably skip forward and look at Flight in a second here. Hold on. Cloak of Feathers is what I saw. I don't think that one's appropriate. Chains. What has become of me? All right. So let's go to MTG Flight. Survey says 1 blue. Target creature is now a flying creature. How their language has changed. Okay. I'm down. Until something better comes along. Flight's pretty straightforward. Change approved. Well done, sir. Or madam, as it may be. Let me take a sip of water. Wet my whistle. Yeah, I'm good with flight. That works. Curiosity, Curious Inquiry, We're here. Disarm. Diminish, disarm. Unattach all equipment from target creature. I mean, there are disarming strikes. We have the disarming in the martial power system. We have a disarming strike. We have disarm as a mastery and disarming strike as a strike power. So with the combat masteries, we're using 5.5 DnD. So we have combat masteries. The way that it's written in the player's handbook is each weapon has a distinct weapon property that if you choose that property while using that weapon, you can use it. Like if you pick up the nick proper, let's go with graze. If you pick up the graze property and like a two-handed sword has graze, for instance, if you miss with an attack, you can deal your attack ability modifier in weapon damage. So if I miss with my I think it's actually a battle axe. If I miss with the battle axe, I will at least do my strength damage with it because I have graze. That's how it's written in the player's handbook. The way that we do it is that, yeah, if graze, if that battle axe has graze as a property, if a martial character is proficient with the battle axe, you automatically can use graze. But you gain a number of masteries that you can prepare. If I prepare graze, I can use graze with literally any weapon. It doesn't just have to be the battle axe. Just the battle axe gets graze for free. But like if I take heavy crossbow, that has the push mastery. If I hit with my attack, I can push a target 10 feet. There you go. But if I pick up the graze proficient, if I prepare graze, if I shoot that heavy crossbow and I miss, I can then use graze to at least do my dexterity mod and damage. So like that's a ton of versatility. So we added disarm as one of these masteries. The target makes a strength saving throw or object held is dropped in an adjacent 5-foot square. If the target is holding the item with 2 hands, the save is rolled with advantage. Very straightforward. Very, very simple. But we also have disarming strike. And this is using the half casting progression. All martials, barbarian, rogue, monk, fighter. I think I'm missing in the half casters. They can all learn martial powers instead of spells. It's the same half casting progression. So a first rank power you get access to at first level, like say as a fighter, becomes disarming strike. Your weapon deals extra damage equal to 1 power die per mana expended. And I'll show you a power die here in a second. And the target must make a strength saving throw against your channeling DC, or the target drops 1 item of your choice that it is holding, adding the result of the highest power die rolled to the DC. So not only going to deal extra damage, and your channeling DC is going to be 8, plus your proficiency bonus, plus whatever stat it is that you use for channeling. Like a fighter might use their strength. So like a DC 8 plus 2 plus 4, that's going to be a DC 14. So I roll a power die, and a power die is kind of like a bardic inspiration die, martial power, like a martial arts die, bardic inspiration die, superiority die, psionic die. It's all kind of the same stuff. Starts with a D6, becomes a D8, ends with a D10 at 17th, which is worse. than the Psionic die, the Battle Master die, the Bardic Inspiration die, the Martial Arts die. Those are all better because those are all specific class features. This is just a general class feature that all martials and half-casters get access to through power channeling. So when I spend that 1 point of mana at first level, I'll add d6 damage to the attack, and say my channeling DC was 14, I would also add d6 to the channeling DC, potentially making that disarm saving throw, strength saving throw, a DC like anywhere from 15 to 20. If I was 9th level, I could channel 3 mana. So the language of that, and I roll a d8, my power die becomes a d8. So if I spent 3 mana at 9th level, I would deal an extra 3d8 damage, and I would roll, and of those 3d8 that I rolled, whichever one of those dice is the highest result, I would add that result to the DC. So it could potentially become like at 9th level, I would have a +4 bonus. So it would be a DC 16 plus D8. So a DC of anywhere from 17 to 26. Holy shit, that's really good. And again, that's a strength saving throw. Otherwise, whatever you were holding, I knock out of your hands. If the save fails, the object lands at a location you choose within 10 feet of the target per mana expended this way. Targeting an item held with 2 hands rolls a disadvantage. So if I spent 3 mana at 9th level and I successfully disarmed you, I could flick whatever, like that like say Staff of Power or like a Sphere of Annihilation. I could flick it out of your hand and like have it land 5 feet away from the wizard over there. And now they can just pick it up as an object interaction. Now they have the opponent's weapon. Disarming Strike is super fun. Super, super fun, especially if your DM is into humanoids and similar creatures that implement tools. Disarming Strike comes in super handy. So Disarm, it already exists as a power and a strike, or rather as a mastery and a strike, but that doesn't mean we can't include it again. So let's go back down to first rank here. We'll just take the language. We'll go with Disarm. As an attack, you can force a creature. As an attack, you can force a creature within reach of your weapon, attack, or your weapon or unarmed attacks to make a strength saving throw. If it fails, the object lands. The object falls. Yeah, lands in a space within 5 feet of the target. If the object is held with 2 hands, the save is rolled with advantage. There, what's up? I'm looking for the one from 2018 because I don't remember what it is called. Well, when you find it, let me know, because now I'm interested too, Ma Willie. Disarm, yeah, that feels pretty good. As an attack, how about we do this? Once per round, as part of an attack, I don't know if this is going to survive. Again, we already have the martial power system, and this is already provided in there, so it's probably redundant, but maximum altitude. But yeah, it doesn't. Good find though, man. Thanks for the effort. Appreciate the hustle. Very much so. But yeah, I totally agree. I think we're good. I think flight that was a much better suggestion, and well done, sir. Dispel, we know that one. Disrupt, we know that one. Distortion Strike, I think we were just, this is where we were at. Dive down. No, we were past this already. Divert, Divergent, no, this is where we're at. Divert equation. How are we doing here anyway? Yeah, we're almost done. We generally do 1 page per session. We got 600, so we got 4 more pages after this. So we'll be done next week or so. I'll do this on Saturday morning again, and then Monday night, and then Thursday night next week. So it'll be Saturday, Monday, Thursday, and then Monday, a week from Monday, we should be done with blue and then starting in on black. But we are building out a big list of things. I'm really happy with this. Divergent equation, return up to X target instance and or sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand, and then exile it. Now we're going to skip that. Divert. Change the target of a spell with a single target unless that spell's controller pays 2. Okay, I think we have that already. That's called divert. Looking for it. Hold on. As a bonus action, you can see within 60 feet of your victim. Still searching. If the target creature succeeds a saving throw, you can use your reaction to force the creature to roll again. No. This one is spell chain, clairvoyance, aura, finesse, bubble snare, threshold. When a creature you can see within 60 feet targets with attack, they miss. Let's see. Divert. Targets with an attack. They must choose a new target, or the attack automatically misses. Once you use this this feature, you can you can use this feature once, regaining it when you finish a long rest or expend 4 blue mana to regain. No action required. There. Now divert makes sense. Keep on keeping on. Dizzy spell. Oh, that sounds fun. Targets a penalty to attack. Transmute. Search the card with the same. Search for a card with the same converted mana. Put in your hand, then shuffle. Huh. Okay, there's not a practical application to convert that into D&D, so I'm going to skip that. Downsize. Target creature you don't control. This again, that's like diminish. Just going to skip that. Somebody's restoration, we generally skip. Proper nouns. Dragonstorm Forecaster is a creature card. We generally skip those. Dreamcatcher is a creature card. We're going to skip that, though that is a fascinating creature. Dreamcoat. Caster may change target creature's color. Okay, color changes don't matter. Hey, well, okay, there we go. 8 o'clock. We've been at it for about, like an hour and a half or so? How are we on timing? And we've been at this for 2 hours now. So, wow. Seriously? Holy shit. That's pretty good. Okay, cool. That's a good session. I'm going to skip to the next page, to the next 60. So we're now 2 pages in of a 7-page list. So 7 times 6 is 7 times 6 times 8 is 48. So we're 2 out of 8 pages. So we're 25% of our way through. We've already extracted, I think we just picked up like 10 abilities this session. Aside from black, we got how many now? We had 20 when we started. So we're now at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-ish. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and we put 2 into black, so that's 31. We gained 11. We gained 11 options today. Off of those 60 cards, we pulled 11 new ideas. We have 40 white already. We now have 29 blue, and we have 480 cards to go. Jesus, we're gonna get plenty of value. But that's what we're doing here. So we're doing that, and then again we're gonna take these. We're gonna convert them into like primary color subclasses. We're going to then create color combinations for subclasses. We could eventually like get into Bant, like a Bant subclass or like a Grixis subclass. Like a Rakdos subclass, a Simic subclass, and then we can dive even deeper into like a Boros Banneret. That could be a specific subclass using white-red energy, using like Bard-like boost abilities and stuff, whatever like white-red themed stuff that we come up with. So we can go from broad and then go down into further specialization, and again, with the way that we're building a multi-subclass characters, each tier, when you gain a new subclass, you can either advance a current subclass to its next tier or start at tier 1 in a subclass. So your Bant character could take white, what I think Bant is white, green, and red, I think. So white, green, red, Bant, white, green, white, red, green, red, and then a specific character, like a specific creature card type that is white, green, or red in that spectrum. But you've got like six subclasses you can choose just off of color selection alone, and then dive in further, like make a Bant Berserker, and then add that to like green and red energy. So now you've got green, red, and Berserker on your Barbarian. And you might have like white and red and say like Valor College for a Bard. You could have those 3 subclasses working on that one character, using their color identities as an alternate alignment system to guide and channel what sort of effects that character would have. So that's the idea. Thank you, green, white, and blue. Thank you. I'm shaky on my wedges and my shards. So, I'm still learning those. I'm pretty good with dual colors, but I've always been shaky on Alara. What else? Is that it? And Nuka Pinna, I think Nuka Pinna are triple colors, right? They're I think they're wedges too, aren't they? Anyway, that's going to be it for now, guys. I'm going to cut out of here. I do artwork in the morning. We're currently doing a book cover for Spelljammer subclasses for D&D 5.5. And I'm going to log out here and do some work on that. I mean, I'm just going to work on it. I guess there's technically nothing wrong with me actually just like doing that. So maybe I'll just stick around and do some artwork, and that way I can just have an open mic and just answer questions for anybody that might have them and just bullshit with each other. But this is what I'm planning on doing for the rest of the night, so I think I'll just stick around for a little while longer and crack this open, and let's just do some artwork. So this is the Spelljammer subclasses book cover that I'm creating. It's got a radiant jellyfish grappling a Nyogi spiderling fighter craft. And my current project here is to start highlighting here. I'll put in an hour here, and then I'll log out for reals. But yeah, all the artwork, like in all the books I have linked down below, all the artwork in there is mine. All the ideas and the artwork are mine. I'll hire, for complicated projects, I'll hire an editor. And sometimes I'll hire a co-writer to help me with mechanics and expressing it properly. but the more simple the project is, the less external help that I need. So this is just, we built a book for Spelljammer that's published on the DMsGuild that basically converts ship combat into normal D&D 5e combat, except that the ships are operating at the 50 and the 500 foot scale, as opposed to your characters normally operating and conducting combat at the 5 foot scale. But between the pilot and siege crew commanders and squadron commanders, you can use your actions, attacks, bonus actions, reactions, and movement like you normally would in 5e combat, but now it's at the 50 foot scale for fighter craft and melee combat between larger ships, the 500 foot scale for squadrons of fighter craft, single vessels, and long range combat, and then you can use the 1 mile scale for fleets of ships that are engaging in mass warfare between different vehicles. And all that utilizes the 5e combat game engine that we already use and know how to use. So it makes ship combat very intuitive and have that same snappy tactical decision making that people that like 5e generally enjoy. Like 5e is a very tactical combat game. You have to enjoy tactical combat to really, really embrace 5e as like your forever system. I'm a big fan of tactical combat. Most of the mechanics that I build in books increase the decision making and complexity of tactical combat in one manner or another. And so I love these things. I love these ideas. I embrace them wholeheartedly. Let's grab this radiant color effect here and go down here to our spider legs and start adding in some highlights here to reflect this radiant tentacle that's wrapping around these the leg fairings here. So I need to add these highlights in like that. I don't play Magic the Gathering currently. I'm legally blind, so it's really unless you're using just basic mana cards that have like the really big green, white, blue, black, red symbols on them, I can't tell what your mana is, and I have to literally pick up every card here, I'll look at my phone. Anyone looking at their phone, like your just generic phone, right? We all have a sense of idea like how big those are. For me to be able to read my phone, I have to be this close to it. Like this far away from it. I'm legally blind. I've got 2200 vision. It is non-correctable because my retinas weren't properly formed when I was in the womb, so I'm missing resolution software. Like my firmware is preset to only one resolution, so I can't zoom in at all. If I want to zoom, I have to literally bring the thing closer to my eyes. So that limits my ability to be able to read cards. Even in Magic Arena online, I have to click on each individual card to figure out what the fuck they are, which means that it takes forever for me to process a turn. And if I'm doing something over the table, like with paper Magic, you always know what I'm thinking about because I'm constantly picking up and looking at your cards. It's really fucking obnoxious. I stopped playing back in, I want to say, around Weatherlight, 97. It just got to be too annoying and inconvenient for me to play in anything other than people that really, like friends and family that actually know who I am and care about me and are willing to sit through that. And it became really obnoxious to me, so I stopped playing. But I still watch. I watch Ash Lizzle, I watch Legend VD, and I watch Covert Go Blue fairly regularly to keep up with current meta. Though I gotta say, the Universes Beyond has really buzzkilled me a lot on being interested in keeping up with the current meta. Like I don't really care about the current meta if it's just a splash of Spider-Man cards or whatever. It's just the Universes Beyond really demoralized me as an enthusiast to keeping up with what's going on in Standard Magic right now, or even Commander. It's just I just kind of just stopped caring. I'm hoping. I know that the new Strixhaven set came out, and I'd like to explore that, but it's still really sticking in my craw that at any given time I could find you know, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle or a Spider-Man or, you know, a Final Fantasy character hanging out in the card set. It just, I don't know, man. Call me a curmudgeon if you want to, or a grognard. It's just been, it's really demotivated me. Let's add in a highlight here. But yeah, when I was growing up, my parents had a photocopier. They ran their businesses out of their office, out of our home. So we had a photocopier, and I started purchasing the art of Magic the Gathering. Like they would release like full print sets of like all the cards that they had published by year. They put them in these art books, these catalogs that had every single card in them. And I would just put the book on the photocopier and increase magnification by something like 135%, and it would be proxy sized. And then I'd buy sleeves and just slide the photocopies into the proxy sleeves, and I could basically build any deck that I wanted that way. And I did that for a number of years in the 90s. And I kind of fell out of it in the early to mid 2000s, and then I got interested again, but realized that my vision was going to be too much of a difficulty moving forward, and so I kind of dropped out of it. And now I just like I said, I just keep up with meta now. So I'm a big MTG nerd, but I can't properly engage with it. It's like a paraplegic and having a real love for football or hockey. You know, it's like not going to be playing that sport. Though I love it. So that's kind of where I'm at. Thanks for asking. But yeah, most of my enthusiasm, energy around MTG these days is in creating character mechanics for Magic the Gathering for D&D. I just think them not getting into color mana and developing a color mana system like this was just the biggest blunder. To me it's such low hanging design fruit. It was so easy to design the color mana system for 5e. It was ridiculously easy. I was amazed. I was sweating and sprinting as hard as I could to make that book when Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica came out. That's what put the fire under my ass to actually start publishing the MTG stuff. Because I was convinced that if I didn't publish this book ASAP, someone else would have figured out this very simple mana process, and I basically would have been scooped, and I'd be using somebody else's thing because they already did it. Luckily, I'm the only one that seems to have recreated it, or it's such a commanding, obvious thing to use that no one else has bothered, like to try to come up with something different. I've seen Planeswalker subclasses and full classes be developed now and again, but none of them are leaning into the idea of color magic for MTG inside of D&D. No one else is even. I've seen a little bit of material about like considering like color as like an alignment system, which I'm in favor of, but I don't like how anyone else has executed it yet. So I'll be implementing that in the 2024 version of the book. Let's do that. So big enthusiasts don't actually play at all. You're welcome to call me a poser if you want to, but it's just not practical. So my tabletop game of preference, I have two tabletop games that I will always prefer to play over anything else. Backgammon and chess. Those are my two absolute hardcore favorite board games to play. Chess is infinitely complicated, and you can always get better at your chess game, and backgammon is just raw magic. Good backgammon players are just flat out fucking shamans. Because after about 300 or 400 games of backgammon, you can kind of feel the dice. And sometimes when you're in flow with backgammon, you literally know what dice are going to be rolled next before you do it. And you plan accordingly, and it's pretty reliable. Like, I know I'm going to get a pair of 4s. So I'm going to set up my shit for 4s. And lo and behold, pop some 4s. It happens amongst me and my other friends often enough that we all just readily recognize that backgammon is some sort of crazy shaman magic. And it's absolutely just mind-blowing, but super fucking fun. So I love backgammon. And again, chess is infinitely complicated. And it's just raw logic that wins chess, which is like completely opposite from backgammon. Backgammon is all intuition and feeling the flow of the game. And while you can do that to an extent with chess, there's no dice or random variables that can be manipulated. It's all just decision making, which has its own level of respect for me. This is feeling pretty good so far. I'm going to keep layering this in here, and I'll probably drop the opacity on this in a little bit. But yeah, this is what I do. I wake up in the morning, I pour myself a cup of coffee, I jump online, and I paint for about an hour and a half-ish, typically. And then I go to my day job. And then I come home, and like I said, on Mondays and Thursdays, I log on and I do game design with you guys like this. And then Saturday as well. Let's do like that. I see text. What's up? I prefer shogi over chess, but I have played way more games of chess. Is that... I recognize that name. Hold on real quick. Shogi. I think I know what we're talking about. When you capture an inner piece, it becomes your ally, and you can place back onto the board in a later turn. Oh, I've never played shogi. That sounds like fun. I'll check it out sometime. Neat. Highlight in there. We'll thin these down later. I see text. Give me a hot second. I want to finish. I want to resolve this highlight here, and then I'll take a look at what you got to say. Well, hey, Rel, what's going on, my dude? I just got finished running through another 60 cards of blue mana, and I didn't feel quite like hanging up, and we had a bunch of people that are hanging out and chat with us, so I just decided to fire up Photoshop and get some more work done on this art cover. So I'll stick around for a little while longer, and then I'll bounce out. But this is all I'm doing for the rest of the night anyway. So I may as well hang out with you guys while I do it, right? So far, so good. So what? Yeah, I don't like that one. Don't like that one either. I think I just made a mistake. Yeah, there we go. I see text. Sup? Well, good for you. I should probably wash mine too. I think it's getting a little thick and oily. I wash my hair about every maybe like every 5 days, 3 to 5 days. I'll actually shower frequently, but washing my hair like every 3 to 5 days. And then and I normally don't use any shampoo or anything, just some soap, just a light bit of soap, and just froth that through my hair. That's typically sufficient. About every month, maybe like once a month, I'll actually shampoo it. And that's treated me pretty well. But I've got really good hair genes. I am 51 next week, and I think my hair might turn silver eventually. But it's gonna stay dark brown like this probably for another decade or so. Yeah, like that. That feels good. Drip this off down there like that. Stretch that out. Let's blend that in. I finished Murderbot last night. That was a fun show. Very, very short. Only 30-minute episodes, and it's got about 5 minutes worth of previously on and intro credits. So it's got a lot of filler. Only about 20 minutes of effective storyline each episode, but it was good. Murderbot, highly recommended. Hoping there's another season. Let's do that and bring this out here like this. And then this one here, we'll highlight that one. This is the way. Like that. There we go. Boom, boom. I see text. Hold on, I'll catch up with you in a second. Yeah. Be able to engineer once you're done with gathering them. I know, right? As a birthday gift, I once got a handmade shogi board. Oh my god, that's amazing! Oh my god, how fun! Shogi is like a Japanese version of chess. I didn't know that either. I had to look it up. But as you capture pieces, they become your allies. So you slowly overwhelm your enemy team. Never played it. Sounds really fun. Yeah, I'm really looking at seeing what these subclasses can become as well. Very much so. Thin that leg up a little bit. No, that doesn't feel right. You know what? I'm going to scratch all this shit. I'm going to try approaching this again differently. Because this is all just feeling wrong right now. So I want to figure out what's making this feel wrong and fix it. This feels better immediately already. So let's just stick with this one-sidedness. I think that's the real trick to make these things look good. God, that looks really cool. I love this lighting effect. These radiant tentacles are such a blessing to the lighting effect of this piece. Really? I did not know chess came from India. That does not surprise me. India's got a very, very old culture. I guess it's debated how far back it goes, but I mean, if you want to believe in flying pyramids and shit, we're talking like, what, 5,000 years ago? 10,000, something like that? I have no idea what this planet used to be like. I don't think any of us do. I think reality was a lot weirder back then than we know. There we go. That feels pretty good. This one's doing okay. This one's doing okay. I think I can probably back off the highlight on this one. What's up? We were nomadic hunters back 10,000 years ago. That's about it. I don't know, man. Aren't there a lot of ruins in Iraq prior to the Persian Empire that go back 10,000 years to the Younger Dryas era, when the big floods happened and destroyed most of civilizations? I believe we have evidence that we were around a lot earlier than that, doing crazily, architectural and geometric shit. I'm under that impression. Spread that out there. Lock that in again. Yeah, it feels pretty good. Let's smooth that down a little bit here. We can bring that in like that. That feels pretty good. Not bad. Not bad. Let's legs, front tentacles. Let's get rid of those. Let's grab this dark color here. Start filling in here, and then we're going to disintegrate this down into a smooth gradient to emphasize the curve of the hole. So bear with me while we go through this smudging process here. Burp, burp, burp. Burp, 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 burp. Burp, 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 burp. All right, we still got a little bit of time. Yeah, I'm definitely taking a shower after this. Nice hot shower sounds like a really, really good idea. Darken this up a little bit here. This is just the natural form lighting for the object in general, and then we go back through with the Radiant Tentacles to add in unnatural highlights that will create pockets of brightness along the surface here to create some variety in texture. So far it's been working out really nicely. Put that down there like that. And yeah, that looks pretty that looks pretty good. Now we'll add the legs back in and the tentacles. Now we can go back to highlights there. We can add highlights here as well. Let's grab that. How can we do this? Hold on. Can we get away with this like that? I think we can do that. This piece is a lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be. I didn't really know how much architecture I was biting off and chewing. I don't like that at all. I'm not complaining about the results overall, though. I'm pretty happy with it. Let's do that. We can blend that in. There we go. There's so many projects that we've been working on over these past few years that are like 80% of the way there. Everything is scrambling for attention to be the next thing that I work on. So I will, once we get this, I'm using this subclass book. It's only a dozen pages. It'll be pretty easy to resolve overall. But I'm using it as a palette cleanser, and as an emotional, basically as an emotional buffer between the last book that we finished, the Eberron Adventure, Crystals of Mabar. That was a 4-year fucking project, man. That thing took forever to build. So I needed something lighthearted, and honestly, something I didn't care that much about. This Spelljammer Subclasses book isn't very important to me overall. I like it. It's checking off a box that I had wanted to build out more material for Spelljammer in general, especially utilizing the combat mechanics that we had developed to lean into that idea to make it more comprehensive. But this is not my opus. Like, that Spelljammer book was pretty goddamn good. But I think the Bastion campaigns and the Martial Power system, I think those are going to be like those will be my shining examples of like, what can I do? Those books are fucking amazing. I am so looking forward to publishing those. That is going to be so much goodness. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Blend that in, drop down the opacity or the strength of the smudge brush so it becomes more diffused and smoothing than pushing pixels and creating, like, it's not pushing the pixels, it's blending it. You can use a smudge brush in different ways in Photoshop. Generally for blending in color into each other or for pushing pixels and pigment across the canvas. Both operate differently. Either like that, and then bring this in here, a little bit more highlight like this. Maybe some highlight here like that. I don't want to overdo it, but I also don't want to underdo it. I want to sell the radiance of these tentacles, and lots of light is the way to do it. Got to have lots of light to pull it off. So let's drop down into here, go across here like that, build that out a little bit, and now we'll start blending that in. Pull away from the edge, blend across the edge so it smooths down and the light disperses as we move further away from the tentacle. We have to keep that curve in there so that it doesn't get artificially flattened on accident. And keep building that out. Curve it in. What's up? In my experience, you don't get to overwhelm your opponent with an army of pieces in most shogi games. Often, I'll drop a captured piece on it for a check. Oh, like you can drop them in, like in. Can you like literally put them anywhere that you want on the board, or do they have only specific positions that they're allowed to go to? I can see a lot of tactical power between either one of those directions. I might just have to learn how to play that game. Come on, get it out there. There you go, buddy. Looking good. Looking good. Flatten that out, smooth that in, flatten it out, smooth it in, flatten it out, smooth it in. And I think I need a new layer here for this tentacle wrapping around like that. Like that. This will probably work out. Yeah, so far so good, so what? Disperse this down like that. And then disperses like that. The radiance is a little tricky. Not necessarily wholly satisfying. I see text. So? You can drop pieces anywhere with very few exceptions, like not being able to drop a piece where it will have no legal moves. Fair enough. Neat. Wow, that sounds tactically deep. Take over some pieces and just suddenly have them flank the king. That sounds cool. Here we go. Yeah, I don't hate this. Can I think I can. Let's add a masking layer here. A really low opacity. So I can scrape at these legs a little bit, bring down that intensity a touch. So it's not so sharp. Becomes a little bit more delicate. Yeah, I think that feels pretty good. We'll stitch that shut, and then What happens if I merge these layers down? Can I be bold like that? Yeah, I think it looks okay. Let's see if we can just leave it like that. Spiderling's looking good enough for the time being. Let's fold up the Spiderling. We still have more to do, but we're gonna have to get organization. We're gonna have to get it organized. So let's see, what is it? 8:45. This is probably a decent. This is a decent. I'm going to start getting exploratory. And I think I'm going to take a shower and shake off the day and clear my emotions of streaming so that I have an open plate for me to start. The next thing that we want to do is start building out assets in the foreground here and in the background here, and I'm going to have to explore that. So when I come back tomorrow morning, we'll be playing with the foreground here, figuring out what's going on there. We'll eventually add a paladin in here inside its aura. We'll probably put some Nyogi back here in the background. And then we'll add in more and more stars back here. But we're going to figure all that out. So this is some decent progress. This is pretty much what I had planned for going on tonight. Now I'm going to explore. So I'm going to go ahead and kick out a stream right now. Yeah, thanks, Rel. And yeah, I'm going to catch up. Maybe I'll see some of you guys in the morning. I do this again. I do artwork like this Monday through Fridays in the morning. I do game design like we were doing on Mondays, Thursday nights, Saturday mornings. We do my playtest campaign on my Discord server on Saturday afternoon. Anyone's welcome to hang out in the peanut gallery and listen in while we're playing. I just ask that you keep your phone muted unless you're actually playing. Check out my books that are linked down below. Like and subscribe. And thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. I'll see you all on the other side. Cheers.